This conference will now be recorded.
All right, we're gonna call the meeting to order here. It's 5:35 PM on February 24th. To the select board, Susan and I are present here in town hall. And Frank, are you online with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
And then for the finance committee, we have Steve Cohen and Jeff Zimmerman, and we're missing Roger Tryon. Do we know if he's coming?
Haven't heard anything.
The first order of business is work on the budget. And our first meetings with the principal assessor. Don, are you on the phone there?
I am.
All right, thank you. So, in looking at the assessor's budget, the main change is in staffing. Do you want to explain the staffing change?
Sure. So I'm trying to get somebody to train, replace me when I retire.
Yeah.
That's the whole purpose of that. So, I have to ask questions in order for me to answer. That's the gist of it right there, just to find somebody to replace me.
Any questions for Don?
So I think we weren't quite certain in total number of hours. I think, Don, we talked 10 or 15, so the budget right now is showing 15 hours, but I know we had talked about 10.
Right, so I'm thinking, in all the past, I'm thinking 10 to 12 and a half, a reasonable amount of time. The 5 hours of the days that he's not working for the town as a clerk each day, and then possibly, if she wants to work on Saturdays, a couple hours on Saturdays. But I'm not sure what her plans are. Yeah, well, because she's become a mother. And I understand that. But this is gonna be a drawn out thing. She's not gonna learn this job overnight. There's no question about that. So it's
Don, how much state-based training is there in addition to whatever she can get through working with you?
I would say that everything she gets state is probably about 1/4 what she really needs to know.
I couldn't hear that.
Everything she gets from the state would be about a quarter of what she needs to know. Sorry, we're trying to increase
That's
this
as loud as it
volume.
goes.
But what I was asking was, even that said, how much training is available or required from the state?
Required, Ellen has to be certified as a 101 assessment. That's
Okay.
required. She can go all the way up to now level 6. And that's pretty high up in the assessing world.
Okay.
I'm grandfathered in because I've been an assessor so long, I don't have to take those courses, but she would have to take them. And she's willing to take courses, so that's the important thing. But the real training is going to be in the field and in the office.
Don, it's Justin here. Do you have an idea of the timeline? I know that it's of the transition. I know that it's probably subject to change, but are you thinking years, 1 year, 5 years?
I'm thinking that in order for her to move forward, depending on how much she can absorb at any given time, knowing that she has another job she's trying to learn, I'm thinking 3 to 5 years. She has to vote both times in this job, so it's gonna take a while.
I couldn't really tell what he said. Did you say that she would need 1 year before she could become the principal, and then you would be the assistant for the second?
Oh no, 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years as the assistant.
To become.
That's correct. And the more
Until you flip it.
job until she can get a set of that takes a long time to learn all the ins and outs of that.
And how old do you figure you'll be when that happens?
103.
Since you're younger than me, I can, poke at that, but.
Not by much. I'll give my age, sure.
Okay,
God bless.
we're counting on you to survive.
Well, thank you, I'm trying. I'm not doing a great job right now, but I'm trying. The other thing I'm planning on doing is, once she can assume the position of the principal, I'm willing to step back and become her assistant, so she is confident that she can do everything in that office, and that's gonna take a while too. There's things I was explaining to Roger, there are things that come up that you can't even plan for, and, she will not be ready to handle those small things. But I can teach her how to do that as they come forward.
When is the next reval?
The next reval is actually FY 2028, so next year, I believe it's next year. I haven't gotten the official word yet, but I believe it's next year.
So it's effective 28, but it has to happen during FY
Right, in
20.
our world, you always look a year ahead. So right now, we're in 2026, I'm working in 2027.
Does the reval happen during fiscal year 27 or during fiscal year 28?
It would be during 27, I believe. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. They will tell me when my reval is happening. So, but I can check on that, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna happen next capital year.
What are the pros and cons of 10 hours versus 15 hours for the position? I know you touched on that before, but.
Oh, well, the only con is that you'll get into a project, if you're learning the project, and your time runs out. Just hope that you can remember what you've learned beforehand. And that the hours are fine, it doesn't matter, however many hours she can devote. She's a smart cookie, she gets things really, really fast. I think she'll be fine.
Anybody else got questions?
Now, I'll tell you right now, up front, what I'm proposing will not have any impact on the other job. Period. It will not have an impact.
Do we have an obligation to post the position?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. And to Don's point, the one positive is that the two different positions are in two different offices in two different parts of the building. Not that they're that far apart, but it's still, assessors to the right, town clerk to the left. So it's easy. It's easier to sort of separate the two, separate the job. So. And the hourly rate is based on the same hourly rate as the assessor's clerk has at this point in time. So they're equal rates as of FY 27, when this would go into effect in July.
That's brings up another question for either Roger or Don, but is there an expected time frame for hiring for this position?
Well, I would like to have it all in place though on July 1, she can start. I told her, she understands that before she starts, she has to be 101 certified. So I gave her all the course material for her to do that. Now has that, I will get her a log on Gateway so she can take the exams. And so that way, on July 1, she can certify as a basic assessor. And it doesn't matter whether it's Amanda or somebody else. They cannot come into that office and say have a 101 certification, period.
So that would mean starting the hiring process in July, or in June.
Okay. I mean,
Well,
I would say earlier is better, especially if the prerequisite is that they start the job with the certification.
after town meeting,
Yeah.
we'll start.
Well, July one. Fiscal year.
But, yeah, advertising and interviewing and,
I'm gonna sit down with Roger when I come back into the office. And now I'm out because my back is gone. And we'll figure all the advertising out, we'll figure out some kind of a basic job description. We'll do all that, we'll get it all figured out.
If you have a qualified internal candidate, do you still have to advertise? I thought
Yeah,
there
we
was
will.
a distinction.
Should.
we will, yeah.
Some places have those requirements, or they have those rules, but we don't. We have a tendency just to always go up no matter what.
But in order for me to hire, the select board has to do the tiny town exemption.
We also need to figure out if we're gonna hire 2 part-time positions that equal a full-time position, benefits with Berkshire County retirement, et cetera. We're finding out that Berkshire County retirement's costing us somewhere around $15,000 to $20,000 per full-time position.
Well, that's something that you have to think about too.
She has said currently she says she isn't interested in health insurance. She has it through another avenue.
Any other questions for Don? All right, thank you, Don.
Thank you, Don. Hope you feel
You're
better.
very welcome, any questions, anytime.
Thanks very much, Don.
You're very welcome, have a nice evening.
So the one thing is that, if it's 10 hours versus 15, it's about a $6,500 savings on the budget line item. So it goes from 19,535 to 15 hours per week to 13,025 at 10 hours per week. I didn't calculate out to 12 and a half, so it's obviously somewhere in between there.
My bigger concern than that is the retirement and health insurance, even if it's not used now, because the retirement and health insurance can easily be $30,000 or $40,000.
And how much does she work now? You may mention that. How many hours?
She's working 15 and a half hours a week. And so she works, she's scheduled 15 and a half hours a week. And there's an extra 100 hours in her budget for those like during elections and anything else where she might
Can
have to
you be
spend extra.
full-time if you're less than 40 hours? Like some places are 32 hours, you can be full-time. When do you?
Over 20.
Over 20?
Over 19 and a half.
If
is-
you average over 20 for 6
So
months, rolling
so
6
she's
months.
gonna hit that if she got the job. I
Yes.
want to assume that
That,
she.
that
has
is
the job.
why he was bringing it up.
There is a number that is basically benefited part-time or something like that, technically is what they call it. But after 19 and a half hours, they get, they're eligible for Berkshire County retirement and they're eligible for healthcare.
And they're required to do the Berkshire retirement.
I think they're.
And eligible for
Well,
healthcare.
Is that the state law or is that our county?
I believe that's state law.
I think it's a state law, it's not federal.
I know the 19 and a half hours is a state law.
I think
For
he should
time.
be, it sounds like he's already talked to her very extensively about the position. I sort of, and this is not really, this is just me, perhaps not the finance committee per se, but I sort of wish he hadn't. Because you have to be really careful about implying that there's a promised position when the position hasn't even been advertised yet.
I've talked to her about that
Okay.
and she's okay with that. I think she has a lot of other things going on in her, she works in another
So she
community.
understands it's a maybe.
Yeah, she understands.
I hope he understands that.
I think he does. He's probably been around long enough to understand that there's been lots of maybes.
It's further complicated, Jeff, by the benefits question,
Yeah.
because anyone else that we would hire, if they didn't already have a part-time job with the town,
Would be 10 hours.
would be 10
Or
hours.
12 or whatever we said.
And that the cost would be in the low teens thousands.
Right.
And if we hire someone who already has a part-time job with the town, the cost is more like minimum 30,000, and if they take health insurance, 45 or 50.
Right, it's,
So it's a big difference, and we've struggled with this in the past because we've had other internal candidates that were good fits for different positions, and it has to be part of the
and I
equation.
remember there was a prior select board chair who said, well, 2 half-time jobs doesn't make a full-time job. And I never really quite understood that in any other place I've ever been affiliated with. If the place hires you for 2 part-time jobs, unless one is just a stipended, short position to do this one task, it's a.
I
Yeah,
think
it's
what
all
that
one
person meant,
employer.
right, what that
It's
person
one
meant,
employer, not two.
Yeah, it's one employer, right.
right, what that person meant when they said it was that it's more expensive to have one person fill 2 part-time roles that makes them full-time. Because you're not just paying their salary,
Yes.
as soon as they're full-time, you're paying benefits.
Oh, yes.
I think that's what they meant.
But our full-time is 20 hours in a sense.
I think that's state, it's not just us.
It's not our call, it's the
Of course,
state
yeah.
law.
I just wanna, so I've been pondering the whole, additional positions thing, and I totally get everything you're saying, and I'm very anxious about not adding additional burden or additional staff. I also have a concern that, like, we've done, I think I expressed this to you previously, but we've had to go to treasurer and accountant that aren't within the town, and there are a lot of reasons for those things. And as with most, even when you have an in-town employee, you don't necessarily always, it's not always perfect. But there have definitely been issues in both those things over the years, and kind of still are. And we know that there were 3 companies that were doing assessing, but he had been hoping that Mayflower would take over, but Mayflower is retiring and has no successor. We're down to 2 companies that do assessing in the state of Massachusetts, only 2. And that makes me super nervous, like, I don't like that landscape, and so, like, maybe we can find someone else that's willing to step up and do that as a part-time job. But given that I feel like he's been looking for a long time and hasn't found it, like, this is a good opportunity. We'll put out the ad and we'll see what's out there. But I'm just wanting to put on board that it makes me nervous that the town would be in a situation where it's, you have to pick between these 2 companies, you have no other options.
So really, I wanna point out a nuance in what you're saying. The consultants that you're talking about, the only 2 of, they're primarily working with the raw data assembled by our office. So our office is really in the nitty-gritty, measuring, calculating, all that. But then to report it to the state, the state will not accept it now unless there's a consultant signing off or presenting it. Don can't, he used to be able to go directly to the state.
Right, but now it has to.
But no longer, you have to have one of those consultants, there's only 2, yeah, right. But there is a little bit of a nuance, because what we do here with our staff is a little different than what the consultant does. And if they don't do that here, then the consultant sure as hell not, its consultants do not go out in the field.
So
They
who's
don't do
doing
that.
assessing in all the other towns? Because apparently there's no one's coming up through training to be assessors.
I don't know. I just know what Don has explained to me, but the
Okay,
way I understand it, the consultants do not go out in the field.
right,
I mean, they're involved in making sure the forms are right,
right.
and all the data gets assembled correctly, and that issue.
So we're gonna be in that position no matter what.
Yeah,
What you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah, we're kind of stuck with the consulting issue, but really assembling the raw data is really the essence.
But I had the impression that there was a lack of primary assessors as well.
Well,
Okay, I wanna keep moving.
Yep.
Line 491, cemetery expenses. We got the cemetery commission here, thank you for making time to join us.
So, the main reason I wanted the cemetery commission to speak is because they are looking for some funds to, above and beyond their annual, operations to, purchase a service for one of the cemeteries. And if you wanna, you can explain what the service is and, what the cost, because I know you're still working on the cost, so. if you
Yeah,
come
we
up
haven't heard back.
Okay.
He's
Yeah.
doing an estimate
Yeah.
for it.
We have, well, one of the Beartown, what we call the Beartown.
Old Center Cemetery.
Cemetery. There's a very large vacant spot up there. But we know from our records that there's a lot of people that we don't know where they're buried. So.
Unmarked grave.
Yeah, unmarked graves. So, we would like to do some radar imaging, ground.
Ground
imaging.
penetrating radar.
Yes, ground penetrating radar. To see, the radar can tell, you know, they can't, they don't spot a body, but they spot anomalies in the soil composition essentially. So, they could tell us where they think there's graves. So, I mean, we have this empty spot up there, which we don't know if we can take equipment across it, or we've had people ask for, to be buried there, which maybe we won't be able to do because of, I guess it's been decommissioned or whatever, but we still have, people want to use it, but we sort of keep people away because we don't know where people are buried. It's it's something we can do a little bit each year, or we could probably, from my looking into it, the empty spot up in that cemetery can be done in one day. So that'll take a lot of the doubt or the lack of knowledge out of that equation if we survey that much.
Is your estimate already included in there, or is that?
No.
I don't.
No.
No. I haven't gotten an estimate. I've requested one from the company that does this. I'm waiting to hear back from him.
Yeah, we're at a loss as to say exactly what it's gonna cost. Even then, you probably can't say exactly what it's gonna cost, but, so I don't know. I estimated a week or two ago in a meeting we had that it might cost around $3,500. I could be wrong. That could be more, it could be a lot, $1,000 less, but I don't know what the right thing is to do, you know, to take that $3,500 figure and try to work with it, or not.
Under chapter 114, we can ask for a special article above and beyond our budget. And we were thinking we'd probably be better sticking with our budget as we always do, and then ask for a special article. Once we get the estimate from it.
That makes sense.
It looks like it runs 1 to 3K per.
Does that study also know if there's ledge or any reason why it wouldn't be
It's
appropriate?
ground penetrating radar. It can read the ground very detailed.
I know even on the core share, there's ledge in there, right? For areas that you can't use.
Yeah, probably it could. I mean, he'll be looking on his scope, not for ledge. He's looking for these anomalies that, I mean, ledge might show up as part of
It'll
it,
show up as part of it. But
but it's not gonna
it can
mean anything.
distinguish what's what. It can't show a body, but it will say, it indicates, you know, the lengths and width. Okay, that's probably a body right there.
I've seen it used in archaeological digs. It's amazing what it can do.
Yeah, I saw something yesterday,
Exactly.
Mocha Picchu or whatever, in Peru, or whatever, that they used it in the tombs down there.
And this person that you're looking at is out of New Hampshire, right? So
This
It's
is out of
relatively
New
local.
Hampshire, he does this all over, he's done a lot of the old 1600, 1700 in the eastern end of the state, but he does it nationwide, and specializes in old burial grounds. He has a very good reputation.
Well, I want to personally, I'd like to thank you for taking your job so seriously. It's so important. And, you know, for like churches and synagogues in towns, sometimes the first thing they do is get a cemetery. That's like the first thing you do. And we have, I'm sure, people in graves from long before we had the technology that we have today. And to not disturb their resting places by accident because a truck goes over it, you know?
Doing this, because I have no map.
Yeah, that you
I
need
have
to-
one map for a courser and that's it.
So to be
But
able
these
to
don't
know,
have maps, and I have 45 unmarked graves that I know of, that I can count right now. Your sister with her book,
Oh, really?
there's,
Okay.
in the book, I have record of their burial being there from other sources. But Cindy's book, for all the burials in each of the cemeteries, indicates 45 unmarked graves that I have names for. This isn't gonna identify who's in that grave, but at least
know
I'll
there's a
know
grave
not to
there.
disturb that ground
Right.
because there's a body there.
bringing a truck over it, right? So thank you.
Any other questions?
So are you recommending that it be, when we find out the prices, that we introduce it as a separate item,
Special article.
special article?
I think so, yeah.
I think so.
I think if nothing else, it'll be a good way to tell people that it's happening. Which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, a lot of people ask. They wanna know.
And I just wanna also have a little shout out to you guys for Mike, told me that you guys are working on, environmentally sound
Oh, green burial.
green burials,
Oh,
and
where's
I know,
money?
but it's a cool thing. It is, and I know like it's weird and trendy, but it also, there's a lot of formaldehyde and a lot of concrete that doesn't necessarily go in the
Well,
ground.
that will apply to Porcher, but focus
I
on
know,
Porcher.
That's fine, but that you're even looking into it and thinking about it and trying to make it something that can happen for people is kind of, I really appreciate it.
Hopefully. We're aiming for it.
Is Scorcher the only current active cemetery?
Active. The others are all of the other four are considered inactive. The only ones that we have had a couple of burials in say, the last 10 years are families that have been here maybe 4 generations. And, they had a plot there back in the 50s and 60s when they were still allowing plots. But at this point, I don't dare say, okay, you can go there because we could be disturbing another grave. So they're inactive, the 4 are inactive. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And I will get the estimate to you as soon as I hear back from him.
Sounds good.
Give you numbers to kind of think about.
I think that sounds like the 3,500, we'll start with that and go from there. At least we'll have a number.
You wanna do it for one day.
Sounds good.
Maybe we'll get lucky and he'll say 1,000.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
Depends how fast he is.
Well, the thing is,
It's a big spend.
he'll do a third of a whatever, and we figure that's about a third that is, if you do the Google Maps thing, you'll see right where the blank spots are, that there's no stones, no markers.
So
So
just,
maybe he can just focus on them.
just to be clear, we're saying that the special article would be for what's above the 3,500, or are we saying that?
No, for the full amount.
For the, whatever
for the full
the
amount, so we're not
estimated
going to
amount
put
of.
the 26,000 in the budget.
Well, the 26,000 doesn't
Is the-
include that.
Doesn't include that, I'm
So-
sorry, I missed
That's
that.
mowing and maintenance,
That's just the
annual,
regular,
every
got it,
year.
okay.
Just the regular-
Sorry about that, I-
No,
Yep.
that's fine.
Yep, so I actually put that, there's a tab here for free cash stabilization debit. So I just put $3,500 in there as a placeholder for right now.
Good, thank you. I just wanted it to be clear on the paperwork and a couple months from now, say, what did it say?
Okay. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate your time and for coming down. I know it's like taking a chunk out of everybody's evening.
Well, thanks for your efforts. Spent a lot more time than we.
Hi, Nikki.
So I don't have anybody else coming in. Couple things. I have started working on, putting in here the fire department request. I'm going to have them come in. Right now, Sean is taking EMT classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and his, those EMT classes end next week, I think next Saturday or next Saturday is, what would that be, whatever that, first Saturday in March is his last class, so I'm planning on having them in that Tuesday right after that, so both Chrissy and Sean can be there. But I have started putting in numbers based upon some of the recommendations that they have made. They're currently working on essentially 3 scenarios. One scenario is hiring 3 additional firefighters. Three additional firefighters. The other one, the second option is hiring 6 additional firefighters. And the third option is, again, hiring 6 additional firefighters, but working out a different policy for trucks going out of the firehouse. So instead of a written policy, or I don't know exactly what they would call it, where 3 firefighters are supposed to be in the truck going out, they would set it at 2 firefighters. So what that means is that they don't have to, if say, for example, it's a day where there's 3 firefighters and one of them's sick, they don't have to backfill that with an overtime firefighter. So they're essentially removing overtime and a large dollar amount of those extra pays in there. And oddly enough, and when we get to it, I'll show it to you. The operational numbers, not like the, to Justin's point, the healthcare numbers and the retirement assessments, those go up, but the operational numbers actually go down and are less than hiring 6 firefighters with all the overtime. So it's just different. And
So
so
the salary piece going to 9 is actually lower than going to 6.
So how many do they have full-time now?
right now they have 3.
And they want how many more?
Well, ultimately, their overall scenario is 9. 3 on a tour, we'll call it, and the tour is a 48-hour shift.
And I think currently they're spending quite a lot for weekend, nights, overnight.
Yeah,
That's going to go away.
a lot of that will go away. They'll still, I think they'll still require, they're still gonna use some of it, but not to the extent that they have been using it. Because right now they're doing, they're trying to schedule 2 overnight shifts, which they get paid just a straight fee, $125 to do the overnight. And then they're trying to get per diems to work Saturdays and Sundays primarily, because those are the hardest shifts to get people to come in, to get people to answer, that will respond to the as on-call fire. And I think they still have 1 overnight person that they do on Saturdays and Sundays. So their per diems are Saturday there's 2, and on Sunday there's 2 per diems on So there's essentially four shifts on Sundays.
So how many people are there during the night shift?
They try to have 3 right now.
3
So
full-time
one
people there?
full-timer. Right now, they have 1 full-timer, and they try to schedule 2 overnight,
Okay.
just shift
How
people.
many people are on call that can come from home? If there's an incident?
Would depend on the day.
I think it depends on the day, but they've had 0 people show up, or essentially 1 or 2 people show up, and they've had, 4 or 5 people show up. It depends on the day.
Part of the problem has been that people don't want to sleep at the firehouse.
Yeah.
Now, if they have a 5-minute response time, that is their demands, not ours, because nobody said they had to do it in 5 minutes. They have a 10-minute response time from people coming at home. People don't want to sleep there. They are creating a situation that they are demanding we pay for. And the town of Carver, Mass is a city. They have 80 people that they call from home. Their town is spread out. They have 3 different fire stations. When they have incidents in different parts of town, those guys get called.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've been, year over year, we're seeing less and less.
Right.
Fewer
Tom
responses.
Ryan said he wasn't gonna do that. So what I'm saying, if they put demands on training, on the intense training that we may not be able to afford, and they put requirements on there that they gotta leave their homes and come up here just so they can be there 2 minutes faster for a call or 5 minutes faster for a call, the townspeople can be losing out on good service.
I'm not.
By
gonna
the
disagree.
demands of those 2 people up there, Chris and Sean. And I'm not that happy about it.
Are you, I just wanna make sure I understand what you're saying. Are you saying that they are requiring that all volunteer firefighters sleep in the house?
I don't know, I just know that there's a lot of pressure on them, and it's not good.
They don't require, it's purely volunteer, they just ask. Some days there's nobody overnight.
Well, yeah, because nobody's gonna do it.
It's just because, there's actually one person who's a per diem, who comes in on Friday nights, does an overnight on Friday nights, and then does a per diem Saturday. So, it's a mixture of things.
I can. So what you're saying, Roger, is something that concerns me too, is that I think there's a structural issue here. We're looking at our budget and payroll that's required, but we're not paying town employees, technically. And do these people report through the chain of command to the town, or are we paying the firefighters? You're looking at me, I don't have this wrong.
I'm waiting
Okay,
to see
so
where you're
my-
going, because I'm not following you yet. They are town employees and they do report to the town administrator? That's the case, so.
Do they?
Yes.
Okay, but yet there's a not-for-profit organization that do we also fund?
We're not really sure what's gonna happen, what's the
So
current
that's
status
what's
of the
confusing me,
lease?
is that, who makes the policies? Are the policies about the fire department made by the town, like funnel up through Roger, let's say, and the select board, of course? Or are they made by the not-for-profit?
They're made by the town, but whether or not, that's like saying, if Brian creates a policy, is that made by the town?
Yes,
So. if
Brian
the-
reports immediately to.
Right, so if
Roger.
the fire chief makes a policy, why is that not made by the town?
I'm just asking.
As far as I know, I would say it is.
It's a town center.
So, okay, so if, to Roger's point then, if the chief says you have to sleep, if you're on a tour, you have to sleep in the firehouse, then that's the chief's call as the chief.
I don't think, well,
Am I right?
I know he's not saying that they have to. What he's saying is that there are these overnight shifts that are offered at a certain dollar value overnight, and that it's a benefit to the town to have somebody in the station to answer the call quicker.
So that's not necessarily a firm policy.
It's not a requirement of
It's
a
a
person.
request. That's
Yeah,
a-
it's essentially
Well,
a
it
request,
has been,
Yeah.
we're not sure of that,
so.
because we don't get involved in their business.
Yeah, so I know that they don't, I know that they don't always, they don't always have people overnight, because there's just nobody there is looking, there's nobody around to do it, they don't wanna do it.
They
So,
don't want
because
to,
they're not required to
they
do
don't
it,
want
so they're just like, I don't wanna, it's not a good day for me, so I don't wanna do it.
Okay.
I just wanna clarify something, there's two separate pools of people we're talking about. So we have, I'd actually say there's three sets of people, right? You have the 3 full-time firefighters.
Mhm.
You have per diems, who are many of whom are actually full-time firefighters
GB or
somewhere else,
someplace else, right?
who are being paid to work a part-time shift. And then you have volunteers. So I think Roger is speaking to the volunteers being asked if they're willing to take shifts, and apparently believes that they're being required to do so, which has not been what I have been told, right?
But that doesn't really affect the budget, or does it?
That affects the budget only in that the people who sleep in the house are paid to do so.
Well,
It has to
But-
affect the budget, and the fact that we have to account for the fact that they might have 2 people on every single day of the week is overnight, so we have to account for those dollars.
But what Roger is saying is that, as I understood, and this is important because I wanna make sure I understand your concern, is that requiring volunteers to do that may be decreasing the number of people who are willing to volunteer, to participate. I mean, I'm,
and in addition to that, the requirements of how they're to be trained and the amount of training they get, if their standards are sky high, you're not gonna get them.
I understand that, at the
Now-
same time, I
now,
don't think
I
that
know-
having
I know
untrained
that-
people fighting fires is a good idea.
I know that they don't wanna be embarrassed if somebody comes in there and they just don't know quite as much as they do. But that's what we're gonna have if we have people working in town, we're gonna have people that aren't as highly trained as them. And whether we allow people to come and serve to their capacity, not just Sean and Chris's capacity, they can be an addition to the town. So if the requirements on their training are so great that we can no longer have people who want to participate in town, we will have a city, an urban fire company that our tax base cannot afford.
Well, and in any of the first responder fields, you have people that are at various levels of training and experience. And somebody who's in a command position usually has served in lower positions and has worked their way up from being a rookie all the way up the line to now being in a command position. And that's part of, a succession plan, is you want to be having somebody with 1 year's experience and somebody with 5 years and somebody with 10 and somebody with 20, and the training that goes along with that and the experience, and the more senior people train the more junior people.
I think what Roger may be speaking to is that the requirements for more formal training, that
Yeah.
they also want the people that are coming to volunteer to participate in trainings, because, and I mean,
Yeah, there's a
I
safety
gotta
piece
say
to
that there's a big safety piece to that. Like, we're not talking about people standing around passing buckets, right? And I know that like, I have some issues with the litigation in the United States for a bunch of reasons, right? Like, you go to Australia, you go to a kid's playground, and they've got a 30-foot high climbing structure, and kids crawling, and the kids fall, and they're like wailing, I lived there for a year, right? The parent goes over, your arm's broken, right, we're off to casualty, bye, all, see you soon, right? And they're marching off. And here, you don't have those climbing structures, because no one's willing to risk that someone will sue for having had that climbing structure that their kid fell off of. I'm not defending, right? But I am gonna say that if I were in charge of the firehouse, having an untrained firefighter on the site, I would be very careful of what I was willing to task that person. Are you gonna have them drive your truck?
It happens all the time.
I-
There are unqualified people up there right now that can't drive those big trucks.
Well,
So,
but the
so in
list
any
is long.
organization, you're gonna have limitations, but at least we get people to serve the people. in
I'm
the
not
town.
disagreeing with you, Roger,
No,
I'm
okay.
saying that it becomes a complicated suit, like, yes, I would love to see more people up there. But it becomes a complicated suit because it's not just about the trucks. It's about what can they do, how much training do you
I
need
know,
before I
I
can let you
It's right.
do anything on the site, because it's a risk to the other firefighters too. If you have someone, you can't let them go in a burning building if they don't know how to use an air pack, right? Like, there's and maybe they can just refill tanks, but they have to learn how to refill tanks.
No, I understand that, and there are certain people that are gonna come along, they can be a service to the town, can work up there, but they're limited on what they can do. Because they're unable to get the training, or they don't wanna get the training. So those tasks are limited, and the chief knows that.
And then,
So you go with what you do the best you can, is what I'm trying to say.
and you right fit the person for the task. So the person that is great at filling tanks and hosing down the trucks and all of that, but doesn't have the field experience, you're gonna have to be really thoughtful about when you assign them and what you assign them to. And the person that doesn't know about chemical fires as much as they know about wood fires, you're not gonna necessarily put them in the midst of a chemical fire unless you're telling them exactly what they need to do. It's
So-
protecting the firefighters, protecting their colleagues, and also, of course, protecting the public. And that's part of why you have the command structure, so that you got the right people doing the right things.
Sure. So on another issue, how many calls are we going out of town for?
I'm sorry, just.
How many calls are we
Out
going
of
out of
town?
town for?
I think Frank has
Are they
that.
all recorded? Do we have a
I
list of them?
Did recently get numbers for this, but I
Now,
don't wanna remember them all.
If we go out of town for a mutual aid call because Getney Farm is potentially on fire, I can understand everybody going. If we're going to Otis because somebody needs help because they fell down, then I question whether we should be going there without pay.
So,
If Otis wants us, why don't they pay us?
would you like some numbers?
Yes.
Okay, so Monterey only, this is for the calendar year 2025. Just so you know, there's a little bit of a weird thing in that the federal, the recording system for the reporting system to like record all the fires and calls changed on October 1st. And the new federally required system is a beta, which means the software is not, I'd call it fully functional. So that has led to some difficulties. Nevertheless, Monterey only calls in 2025 calendar year were 165 with 27 mutual aid calls for a total of 192. Monterey alone saw 2 oven fires, 1 chimney fire, 1 vehicle fire which ignited a brush fire, 1 illegal brush fire, 2 animal rescues, 1 ice rescue of 2 people who fell through the ice on an ATV, a water rescue, and to me, very worrisomely, 11 motor vehicle accidents. Overall, with mutual aid, there were 20 fires, both structure and wildland, and 24 motor vehicle accidents. And then there's alarms and emergency calls, but those were the like active incidents. 101 of the calls were daytime and 64 occurred at night, and I think the cutoff is 5 p.m. and 5 a.m. for day and night.
Okay, so you have all the calls that went to New Marlboro, and all the calls that went to Otis, and all the calls that went out of town.
That excludes the auto aid, which I am now, like, today, after talking to Roger, I'm asking for that specific number.
Auto aid.
And
car accident?
Otis coming here, auto aid is, so, I'm trying to
It's
figure
kind of
out.
like mutual aid, but just an agreement between us and, so like a conversation with us and Otis that says we'll go when something happens. Because I do not believe ambulance is a mutual aid, I don't think ambulance is mutual aid. Fires,
Can I interject something here? What
Go.
they did was on the dispatch, they work with the dispatch, and Monterey was called on everything that Otis had for its dispatch. I know, Susan, I couldn't hear everything you said, and I know that Chris was updating some of the numbers because it's taken a long time to get. But through the first 9 months of the year, we had made 70 calls to Otis. And when I talked to Otis, I got a very vague call on how many times they came over here because they said they didn't track the information. So, Chris and I have talked about this because, I just don't feel like it's a partnership if we're going over there all the time and they're not coming over here. They said, well, when we have Manning, we'll come, blah, blah, blah. When we got into this last year, I was under the impression that, Otis would be making an investment, and I don't see the investment, and I'm not sure if this is best. Chris will say, Chris and I have talked about it. We've had open conversations about it. Well, it gains experience, but I don't know. That's debatable. One of the issues I had was in 2024, I believe we went 17, 18% of our calls outside the town. Through the first 9 months of the year, it was up to around 49% of the time. And when we talked about, we needed to go to a paid fire department, I don't feel like whether we didn't know or whatever, there wasn't transparency saying that all these calls to Otis were going to come in line. So I think it's something that needs to be clarified and we need to have discussion on it. Chris has done a job on getting the number of calls up to date. So it needs to be talked about on that. The other thing I wanted to talk about, you're talking about the levels. There's different levels for the fire department people. So I think they would have to have I'm not familiar with them, but I've heard through conversations, like 2 or 3 different types of levels. And I'm sure that all our volunteers, if they were to come from home, have some kind of level that they're trained for. But that would need to get clarified through Sean and Chris, what are the different levels and so forth. But I think you bring up a good point, Roger. We do have volunteers that can't spend the night, but they can make on a call. Can we use them instead of always trying to just fill it, having somewhere the entire shift? The other thing I wanted to ask Roger McDonald to do is when they do the budget, I've already expressed my interest in doing away with the lease agreement. And I just feel that their department head now, they're well compensated, and that they should work on giving us a budget items like it was, the library. What's the cost to heat the building? What cost for electricity? What's the cost to maintain it? And then we get away from a lease agreement. That way that they don't have, or they don't have control over additional funds into their nonprofit, because we've really changed the structure of how we operated. And I think it's time that we really need to say, let's do away with the lease agreement and have line items for that building so we know what it costs.
I did talk to Sean about that. I mentioned
I've
that.
never talked to Sean. I haven't had a conversation with Sean in a long time, briefly in and out when I go to see Chris. Most of our meetings in the fall, all my meetings in the fall were with Chris. I met with Chris on January 9th, and in that meeting, I told him that, going into the budget, that I thought that we needed to get to go do away with the lease because the structure's differently now. They're
No,
well compensated. We should be paying for no more than what we need to do, and it should be treated like other department heads. We don't
yeah,
have that for the police department. We don't have it for the Department of Highway or Works. So I don't think which is
I talked to Sean about that, about breaking things out. And, he in the conversation, he said that they had done that at one point in the past, and for whatever reasons, it didn't work. But that was also a conversation that the fire company would have to have, the whole issue with the lease.
let's cut through the BS. He is the fire company. Okay. 2 is look, I've heard him say, well, invoices didn't get paid. I did invoices last year and I was processing them in December and I was getting invoices from July from the fire department. So that is not an excuse. I just don't buy that excuse. It's a different structure. You know, it's a different structure. Look at the amount of money. We will have $250,000 invested in 2 managers there in this thing. And to say that, oh, we can't do that because an invoice can't get paid, we really need to ask who we are. I mean, it's different. We're spending taxpayers' money and we need to watch every dime.
I'm also
I'm
concerned
just
that,
not going to buy into it. I will tell you now, I'm not going to vote on a budget where we have a lease agreement where in the last 3 tax years that shows that they didn't spend as much as we gave them.
I'm also concerned about the numbers. Because Susan, what I understood you to say is that out of 192 calls, 27 went out of town.
Which is
That's
about 14%.
14%, right. What I heard Frank say moments later was 49%.
You got to be talking 2024. I will send you the email that I did with the numbers for the first 9 months of the year.
Susan's were mutual aid, Frank's are what we would call,
Auto aid.
aid. Two different
They're still going out of
processes.
town.
They are still.
And if we're out
Still
of
going out of
town,
town.
Right.
and the fire happens, if we're out of town east and a fire happens west,
So as far as I know,
Yeah.
that has not yet happened.
well, yeah, but
Right,
you
so
know,
I just want to clarify what the situation is. So one of the
half
things
the time
they've
we're out
been,
of town. That's
one of the things.
Half the time you're out of town?
Well, I wouldn't say that. Half the time.
49% of our calls have been out
Oh,
of town.
half the time you're.
Half our calls are out of
so-
town.
For
The thing that
the
they've been
first nine, for the
accomplished.
first 9 months, 47.91% of our calls were out of town.
9
We had
months of 2025, you're saying?
Pardon me?
9 months of 2025.
Right. Uh-huh.
Right.
Monterey, 52% of the calls were Monterey. 75% of them were in Otis, which is 34.88%, and other towns were 13.02. So other town turns out to be 47.91.
Can I clarify the difference between mutual aid and auto aid?
Sure.
Okay, so.
I don't know, but I mean, I've gone over these, you know, I shared those numbers with Chris. He didn't raise any issues with me about them. So you know, he
I'm
told
not
me
saying
about
you're wrong. I'm just trying to explain to the people that are in the room that aren't familiar with the difference, what the difference is between mutual aid and auto aid, okay, Frank?
Okay. Fair
Mutual
enough.
aid is like what happened at Getney Farm, where Chuck goes to the call, knows that it's a fire, and calls in first alarm for help, right? So that's mutual aid. It's usually fire and not any other service. Auto aid is when you have an agreement, and like, they've also been working on these box alarm agreements, which would be like essentially auto aid for a larger area. That would be, I think, specifically for fire, although it wouldn't have to be, but it could be. So auto aid is when you have an agreement with another town, and when the alarm goes out, when they hear a tone for Otis,
They go.
if they can go, they go, right? And the idea being that it's supposed to be reciprocal, and I think part of the question I continue to have, along with Frank, is the degree to which it's reciprocal. And we're having trouble getting clarity of answers from Otis, right? Like, it's very hard to know whether the lack of communication is what the source of that is. So Roger's gonna try to
Because here's where it
go
comes,
have a conversation. Great, I hear you. I agree. If it's not mutual, it's.
well, I'm thinking financially,
Great.
being on the finance committee.
Mhm.
Okay, so if we're staffing for X number of calls, I won't even put a number out there, we're staffing for X number of calls, but almost 50% of those calls are outside of our area. And the expectation is that eventually it's like we go out to dinner and I don't care that you got the steak and I got the salad. Next time it'll be the other way and it all evens out. we expect that it's all gonna even out, that's great. If there's a huge imbalance and we're staffing based on not the imbalance, but based on the utilization. Like we're staffing for X number of calls a year and we're paying to provide coverage for X number of calls a year, but 48% of those calls are out of the area and we're not getting.
I'm not sure it's an accurate representation to say we're staffing for X number of calls a year, because we're staffing so we have someone to answer calls.
Okay, if the fire company wants to come forward with information that we can understand, then we can deal with it. If they don't wanna come forward with that information,
They're coming on the 10th.
okay, I mean, but it's hard to pry stuff out of them,
Yeah.
okay? And, I think that we should charge other towns if they want us, and if we want them, we'll pay them. Because they'll step up to the plate,
If we're charging them.
yes.
It's just you're going against a long thing of mutual aid being mutual. I
no,
agree with
no,
you, if it's
no.
not mutual,
I'm
it's.
not saying,
That
I'm
is
not
the
saying
auto
that we have
thing.
a fire.
And that's a
And I
separate
just
question.
wanna finish my thought. If we are, part of when we're saying we need to double we need to go from 3 full-time to 9 full-time, triple it, is partly because of utilization. They're not sitting, I don't expect that people are just sitting around. I expect that there are calls, but if a lot of those calls are out of the area, whether it's 48% or it's a different number, if a lot of those calls are out of the area and they're not mutual aid calls, they're auto aid calls, then maybe we need to look at that, because if there's not some reciprocity at a reasonable level, then maybe we don't need 9 people full-time. Maybe we only need 7.5 people full-time.
I think the question is, how many people need to be in a truck to answer a call? So.
Maybe.
Right, and we can
But
talk
it's
about
also,
that
what does
for a
it
little
cost to
bit.
send the truck out?
Yes,
If it costs $1,000 to get the truck rolling and get out,
I think if you're paying the people that are in it already, what it's costing you, it's probably advertising the truck to less per trip.
Well, whatever it
Trips it makes. It's the cost
But
of the
if you have
gas.
if you
I
have
think it's
fewer
the cost of the
trips,
gas.
if you have fewer trips, you need that much staffing.
I
don't know.
but if you need 2
And
people
do you
to
need-
answer a
do you need
call,
them sleeping there?
if you have 2
You-
people to answer a call and you want people to answer a call 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
You are paying them whether they are going
I
to a
get
call
that.
or not going to a call.
I get that.
So if that's the case, then you're staffing on the basis of wanting 24-hour service, not on the basis
Well,
of the
that's
number
very
of
different
calls.
if the town votes for that, and I'm certainly,
That's what we did.
I've always been a proponent, and I think we're an accident waiting to happen, as I've said many times. And I still feel that way. But I just think that, if we are in some respects going to triple our staffing, then there has to be some justification for that. That's really clear, that we turn around to the town and we say, we're tripling the budget for staffing.
And I wanna be clear, I'm not saying I think that we should do that.
Yeah.
Because
so-
I have the same concerns about budget increases.
And I really wish Justin could speak, and I appreciate that he can't.
I just wanna be clear that I don't think that the staffing in the fire department is about the number of calls, it's about wanting to have someone to answer a call and needing at least 2 people in the truck. We're
I hear
paying
that.
people to have 2 people available to answer a call, to run that truck 24 hours a day. We can argue whether we need that, but that's what we made the decision
Well,
to do.
it would be nice if the town of Marlboro would take a nice shift and
No
they would
kidding.
cover Monterey.
It would be nice if the town
But
of New
the
Marlboro
town
would
of
do a lot
Marlboro,
of
but the
things.
town of, people in New Marlboro tell me that they want us to charge them. Because we go to all their calls and they said, you guys should be charging us. So,
I think there's a
so
question
it,
of
okay,
whether.
we don't have any leverage. We just have a big pot of money in this town. That's what we don't. We don't have any
Well, we
leverage.
don't, because people are saying that they can't afford to pay their taxes,
Well, okay
and
then,
we have to hear that.
okay, I'll be
And
glad.
yeah, somebody who maybe, lives in a wonderful house and has lots of assets It doesn't matter to them if they have a larger tax bill
There's a lot
that
of
went up
people.
10% or 15%. It may not matter to them. But somebody who is on a fixed income and
Oh, I agree. I know that.
their tax bill goes up 10% or 8%, that may make the difference in terms of, are they gonna eat beef for dinner or not? It makes a difference. Are they gonna eat their own
Maybe even chicken.
to 68 degrees, or do they have to keep it at 62 and we're layers?
I just wanna clarify something about mutual aid, a lot of discussion, but to me, there's nuances in mutual aid. So if Otis is fighting a fire and they need more equipment, Monterey goes as mutual aid.
As we should.
There's no distinction here, and I think that's might be the problem with all of us is parsing out where that nuance is. Was it, they're actively engaged and they need more help, that's mutual aid. But if they don't have anybody to answer call and they send Monterey into another town, that's also classified as mutual aid. I think that's would be nice to know where that difference is.
Right, so if Otis has an incident, whatever it is, and they don't have enough help, then they call mutual aid. But if Otis doesn't put, money in their budgets to hire people, well, then obviously, then they're not gonna have any money.
And we're on auto call with them, auto dial, speed dial with them, then we go out.
So that's,
And we're covering Otis's, not mutual, sure, there's a fire, there's a big problem, and just like we would do the same, and we should. There was the fire on the ridge in Great Barrington, probably everybody went out to that, because we're all gonna help. But to be on speed dial for auto help, and if a town says, well, we're just not gonna staff accordingly, then our tax dollars are going there.
And I think there's also the question of, emergency medical versus fire.
Yeah.
So, right, I mean, Otis, it's the question that Frank and I are trying to get answers to is what is Otis's commitment to the ambulance? The ambulance in Otis, which was volunteer, has come under the rubric, the aegis of the town, right? So the town is now running the ambulance under its fire department. And the best information I have, although we are having trouble getting it confirmed by Otis, is that Otis is committing to their ambulance and it will be hiring additional people for their ambulance. So, I think part of the idea was to try to have some type of cooperative agreement where their ambulance was serving us, right? Not necessarily going with Southern Berkshire, but trying to see if we could get ambulance service coming here from Otis. And I think that's what they were working towards. The question is that working towards being accomplished? And that's what we're trying to get answers to.
so is it because the price of Great Barrington is too expensive?
Mhm. Part that, and part, when Collins Center, were you here for the Collins Center thing? Yeah, when Collins Center, did their study, they looked at, transit times, delivery times, and compared it to like the ideal emergency services, medical services, delivery time, and Monterey is past that 12-minute window from SBA. And there's parts of Monterey that are in that window from Otis. And the question is, what options do we have to try to improve on that? And one would be, there's all kinds of possibilities that are under discussion. I don't know what the best choice is. One could be, well, just wait the 30 minutes, they're either gonna live or die, right? And there are people who are in the camp of, I'm willing to not pay in order to, like, I'll drive myself, or I'll have my neighbor drive. I'm willing to not pay in order to not have to pay more and take the risk. There's other people that are like, yes, I would really like it if my husband has a heart attack, the emergency services could get there faster than 20 minutes. So, right, these are all choices that are difficult to make, but the question is how to on the service time.
I want to interject this. I know this isn't on the agenda, but I've been talking to Sansafield. Steve, their chair there, called me last week, and he asked if he could put in a proposal for providing ambulance service to us. I'm anticipating in the next couple days that I'll get the proposal, I'll send it out to everybody, and then would like to put it on the agenda meeting next week to discuss their proposal. So, Susan talked a little bit about the Otis. Sandersfield is an option. Of course, we always have Southern Berkshire ambulance service, but I wanted to put that out there. It's not on the agenda. I don't want to really discuss it any further, but I just wanted to let you know.
To be continued. I think so, yes.
This is, anything else on the budget before we move on?
This is so important, so.
Roger. I had a question,
There was.
for Berkshire County retirement and health insurance.
Yep.
What do those current numbers reflect?
That current number reflects the assessment that we were just given for FY '27, and that reflects the upcoming budget for FY '27 for
With the current eligible employees or with additional positions?
just with the current eligible employees. So if I come over here to health rates, we have one who's a single, we have one who's a retiree single, we have two persons, and we have 5 family plans. That's currently what we have. And with the increase and then the number of plans we have, that's the value, that's what it'll be.
So why are we up 19% without any changes in plans?
Because of the number, we did have a change in plan.
We've lost a plan, full-time officer.
We gained 3 plans,
Uh-huh.
and the full-time, she wasn't full-time, I don't think she was full-time.
Well, she was
No, she-
full-time. I don't know if
she-
she's-
Melanie.
No, she may have been a 2-person, I'd have to double check.
So,
But-
but we budgeted last year for,
We budgeted last year knowing that we were gonna, have the full-time fire department. We budgeted for 2 full-time, a 2-person, and then a buffer for a 2-person.
you keep calling family full-time.
I'm sorry. Two family plans, 2-person, and buffer to 2-person.
But that wasn't for the fire, that was just in general a buffer.
Yes, that buffer
So-
was just in general.
Last year, we appropriated 151,000.
Yep.
And this year, the projected is 180,000 with no new full-time employees
Correct.
and 1 single buffer.
There's no buffer in there.
There's no buffer in here at all.
Yeah, there's none in there.
And I actually, the same thing came up today when I was talking to Roger, I was like, what the heck, if it's only
So
going up
I know why we
6.3%,
took, I know why
how
we
is it
took
19%?
the buffer out, I think, because we knew it. Now,
Well, I'll
So-
be honest, I haven't put the buffer in for FY '27.
Mhm.
I mean, I could put a buffer like.
and what about when we hire a police officer, what we're doing? Because we lost the police officer, we're gonna hire a new one. Did you take her old one out?
Yes, because she's not in here, these are just the 5 people. Yeah, there's no MS, so she's not in here.
So, can you go back to the budget sheet? So with no additional full-time employees, we're looking at 217,000 for Berkshire County retirement.
Yep.
And 180,000 for health insurance. And that Berkshire County retirement is up 51% year over year.
Yep.
With no new full-time employees.
Well, we had, I think,
Well, I
No,
know
no,
that
we-
went
yeah,
up,
we-
we added
yeah,
3 full-time,
yes.
but with none of the future ones added.
correct,
None of the future
potential.
several that we're talking about.
Correct.
I remember that the Berkshire County retirement assessment only changes every 3 years, or is that a misapprehension?
I think they do a reassessment, I'd have.
They may
follow up on
reset
that.
their formula, but I think when we add full-time positions,
They added into.
I don't know for sure. I mean, it's going to, you add full-time positions, it goes up. I don't know if it's next year, I don't know if it's in 3 years, but it goes up.
Oh, I just was curious whether the jump was because of changes for the past 3 years or changes in the past year, that was all. Because it seems an important thing to know.
And I made an adjustment to the unemployment insurance, because, unemployment insurance hits you later on down the road after you have given,
Yeah.
people have done that, so we had two people that were on our unemployment that we're now catching up with them. We actually had a little bit of an increase at the end of FY '24, but FY '25 had a big increase, and FY '26 has an increase. So in talking to the treasurer and the accountant, I'm putting some numbers that are kind of in between the two, because it goes down as the year goes on.
In terms of health insurance, when did we last get quotes from other companies?
We, within Blue Cross Blue Shield,
We only
we
have
selected a much more. Last year, we didn't go to different companies, but I think you were involved in that conversation, might jog your memory. We did modify the plan to make it much more affordable.
I'm just thinking that what I know from my career dealing with health insurance, both as a consumer and also as a provider, but especially as a consumer, is that the premiums are all over the place. And the company that was high last year is low this year, and the company that was low last year is high this year. And they move them all around depending on their market strategies. Unlike, you go into town and the price of gas is pretty much the same at the major gas stations. Here, it's all over the place. And if you get outside quotes, you may find that company A that we're using is different, is now all of a sudden they were competitive, but now all of a sudden they're not competitive anymore. Company C is really competitive, whatever that is. So it sometimes is worth a couple of phone calls to say, hey, here's how many employees we have, here's the coverage we're looking for, what will you charge us?
So we get our insurance through Maya, which is a state organization, and
so we're already in the group.
we're already in the group. We're in a big
Do
group.
they have other plans outside of Blue Cross?
As far as I know, that's what they offer.
They offer just one.
But we only had a 6% increase, where I believe in.
Well, right now we're looking at 19%.
In the overall.
The increase is because of additional employees.
So
That's
Okay, that's the
increase.
increase.
And so we can nickel and dime the plans, and I understand what you're
But you're
doing,
saying 19 is
but,
because of the.
Yeah,
new
so-
and we don't
you're-
even
so
have
here
a
we are right
buffer in
here, so-
there, we don't even have the police officer in there. What we all don't realize, and I know in talking to the assessor earlier, there's so many benefits of making a good succession plan. What we all don't realize is we're just seeing the beginning of the tidal wave of the cost of benefits of just adding full-time
Right, so we
employees
just
to
said we had
departments
6
left
to
and right.
the fire department off the bat.
It's huge.
So-
It's
so-
huge,
So
right.
Jeff, this was FY '26, so we had a 6.53% increase in our health insurance
And-
year over year, which
Okay, I see
was
that.
actually low.
I see that.
Yeah.
6, that doesn't trigger me.
Yeah.
What triggers me is the tidal wave.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we keep, I can't bear to say it, because you've heard me say it a million times, or many times. We keep trying to solve the problem in a way that's not being successful year over year. We're not successfully solving it. So X number of years ago, not all that many, we were at a $5 million budget. And now we're at a $6.5 million budget. Maybe more. We're not, and we're not solving the problem that we hear taxpayers saying, I'm paying my taxes and it's hurting my ability to live day to day. And we have these big ticket items that are fueling these kinds of increases, not because you're buying more big pens,
Right. And that's the issue, is that we have big ticket items that people are asking for, right? I mean, if you go back and you look at the vote that happened for the fire department, it was significant. It was 90 some odd people to 14. So it's like so it's like.
But years ago, we had to deal with the schools
Right.
this way too.
I know, so it's like.
We couldn't support our school, our education
Yeah.
of the children here, and we had to do something different, and we did.
So the balance is that, we do have to have the services you're looking for. We do have to nickel and dime all the other stuff. We do have to buy less pens, less pencils and less paper to get these services that you want. That's just how it is.
So Roger, I do want to have a
Disagree
talk
with
with Alan with a highway. And I'm gonna get along with him good because we think alike, and But I do not understand why the town would buy a rubber-tired backhoe loader when the construction industry got rid of those things 20 years ago.
No.
And they're doing it with chapter 90 money, which means we're not putting it in our roads. Alan says he doesn't know the condition of our roads. I don't know the condition of our roads because I don't know, I'm not an expert on blacktop.
Are we buying a loader right now?
And they,
Wait, Roger, what loader are you talking about?
they want to buy they want to
Well, we're
use chapter 90 money to buy a roller
We're-
and a rubber-tired backhoe loader.
It wasn't chapter 90 money, it was through Mass DOT. So, but anyway, yes.
To replace
And-
one of our current loaders?
No, they're gonna add one.
We,
And then they're gonna wanna put a grapple on the front of that and a grapple on the back of that. It's just,
We definitely want a roller.
yeah, I understand, but
Which
we
you
have
can
two
rent a
loaders
roller,
and a
which-
tractor.
okay, which you can rent a roller. Okay. And then chapter 90 money bought the new pickup truck. That didn't go into the roads.
Chapter 90 money bought the new pickup truck.
No, I didn't buy the new.
It didn't buy the new
It
pickup
didn't
truck?
buy the new pickup truck.
No, we haven't bought.
We,
What did you?
it got very confusing, Roger, but basically we voted at town meeting to buy that new pickup truck.
Okay.
ARPA funds were running short. The time to spend them ran out, so we just paid for it with ARPA funds. And then used the money, but we voted at town meeting for that pickup truck.
Where did the vote come from to buy the International that showed up last fall?
A year and a half ago, we voted on,
That was voted at town meeting?
yes.
Yeah.
The only,
Okay,
what did we
because I
buy?
remember one
So
of
the
the
New
trucks.
Holland tractor, we bought with chapter 90 money. Because the director of operations at the time came to the finance committee and select board and said, we need a new loader, tractor from roadside mowing. Because remember that guy who used to mow the roadsides?
I know,
And then
they.
passed
then
away.
road- yes,
Then they bought
they
his
had-
tractor. And it was falling apart and there were safety issues
I
with
know.
it. And we needed a new roadside mowing tractor. They came to us for ARPA funds and we said no. And so then we realized we could buy with chapter 90 funds. So that's what we bought with chapter 90, was that New
So,
Holland
Okay,
tractor.
so the two Internationals they have now, the Durastar, the white one and the red one,
We voted on,
those were both voted on at town meeting.
correct.
All of them, then, right, everything.
Well, not that New
Well,
Holland
the New
tractor.
Holland one, except for that one, because that's chapter 90.
So they're not buying the roller and the rubber tire
The
backhoe
rubber,
loader?
no, those were through a different grant through Mass DOT that wasn't chapter 90.
Okay, are they buying those? Are they getting
We
them?
have to put in for a grant for those.
Is the loader replacing one of the current loaders
No.
or is it an additional loader?
Additional
It's
loader.
bigger, I had to talk to Alan, I have to talk, I can't remember what the conversation was, but there was a reason for getting a loader different than the one that we have.
Because it's more equipment to maintain and the maintenance issue was an issue on the equipment last fall because they didn't have enough help. Now you're getting more equipment.
I'm wondering if we're getting another loader.
It's getting crazy because they're gonna want attachments for the front of this new loader. They're gonna want a squeezer for the front. They've already got a squeezer on the front of the other two. They're gonna want a squeezer on the.
I can talk to Alan, but I can talk to the roller. The roller, we could not get anybody to, I went out to bid for the roller, and we couldn't get anybody to answer the bid.
Just to circle
And so
back.
we had to,
Are you ready?
Right,
So we had
and,
to go out and rent. We had to
and,
rent.
right, okay, and we have gravelled our roads for 50 years
So,
without a roller.
Roger, we're gonna have to pick this up because it's
Okay.
7:00 and the finance committee
I
is
just
ready
wanna,
to go.
just wanna say one other thing. Roger, respectfully, I disagree. I don't think that we can offset these huge increases by paper and pencil and.
I was being
Okay,
facetious.
okay,
I was
good. Because we cannot do that.
I
you know.
guess, and I appreciate
We
that.
have to look at a bigger.
I guess what my point is that if you want services, right?
Yes.
You either say, we need to spend X number of dollars, or don't spend X number of
Or
dollars,
you,
and we don't get the kind of service that
or
we
you say
want.
we have to structure it differently. And
Yeah.
that's part of the whole issue that Frank is raising about structure, that I'm raising about, we have to say, how are we gonna do this differently? Somebody, I wasn't here then, maybe some of you were, somebody thought about it differently when we decided to do something different about education in this town. And we now are in a consortium around education, but we have a number of school buildings here that you drive by every day that we decided to do something differently around education. We don't have science teachers in each building and principals and maintenance staff and all the rest. We did something different. So to think about what can we do differently here? 'Cause this is not sustainable.
So one other thing I want to say before we look, please, they appropriated money to fix the highway shed. 2, 3, 4 years.
We got rid of that money.
We
That
got
was
rid-
like 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
We got rid of it
nobody,
because no one
because
did it.
nobody could find somebody to paint it. The bottom, the siding needs to be replaced on the bottom. It's not rocket science. You take off the siding, you preserve the wood underneath to re-insulate. They wanna buy equipment. They need to take care of that building. It looks horrible. A new building is gonna cost millions of dollars because all of the features that are required when you build a new building, the salt shed needs paint. Those things are not hard to do. So the town highway, and what I was upset about is the money was appropriated 3 or 4 years ago and it
It
wasn't
wasn't
spent.
3 or 4 years, it was a long time, it was way before my time. Cause I got on the select board and I said, oh, we haven't used this money that's been here for a while. And we put it off the books.
Right.
Roger, can you go talk to Alan? Because if there are things that we can do on the highway building, he's new, it's not his fault, none of this, he
No, I
just
know,
showed
I
up.
know, that's what I know, that, absolutely,
So,
that's why I wanted.
If we
go
could
easy.
get money for maintaining the buildings, we love maintaining the buildings. Town hall has various issues, and we set aside some money to maintain town hall a couple years ago. So if we need money to maintain the buildings, let's do it,
Yeah, okay. I'll talk to Alan.
but nothing about 8 years ago. I mean, we lost that money, the money's not there.
Okay.
Yeah,
I heard that it was appropriated, and wasn't used, so it just.
it was, and we cleared the books, because we have too much old stuff on the
It
books.
just gets left.
Do
It
we need a
doesn't-
motion to adjourn the finance committee?
So moved, discussion, hearing none. All right, thank you. These are really hard discussions, they're hard decisions, and yet they're very important.
I know.
How you doing?
I wish that perfect solution would drop from our mind.
It won't. We have to build it.
I think the budget worksheet, some of the numbers don't seem to be calculated. Go to highway, it might just be on my computer.
See, Mr. Abbott?
I only know.
Yeah.
There, all those green ones, director of operations. I just wanna let you know. But, and even
So,
below, I wonder.
I know you missed it. No, I don't.
So I don't, it's probably not something to solve right now, but,
I think I know what happened.
okay, and then if
Oh,
we,
yeah, I see it.
then fire inspectors.
Yeah, so that fire inspector slab is allocated, that's,
It accidentally says the entire budget.
Yeah.
I just moved that, I just.
I think that got fixed today.
I fixed that.
Yeah, because I caught the same thing when
Go
we were
down.
meeting earlier. Did it not redo?
It may take
Oh, yeah, it's still there.
Where-
Fire, go down, 221, fire inspection, 716, 981.
Yeah, so what happened is I went in and I made adjustments to the fire, to the budget, and that other
Yeah.
form, and it must have shifted all in there. So I'll go back to big
Okay, I just wanna let you know. And then can you go to free cash and
I know I have
stabilization?
it, because I came to the building. That's
Some
what
of
I
this we
did.
can bring around. I know certain things we need to copy over, cultural council,
Yep.
OPEB,
phone, right, where's my phone?
cause we got free cash recertified at 340.
What was the old certification? Yeah, because it's still really low, so, okay.
390 something.
Yeah.
So I have to go look at that.
So the library loan, we just have to figure out.
Those are loans we have to figure out, can Sarah get us those numbers?
Yeah. This we put back in the budget,
Yeah, that we don't need, but OPEB we need.
so I'm gonna take this out, okay?
Yeah.
These other ones I think were just free cash that we've already used, so I can take them out.
Yeah,
The-
cause I just wanted her to get a picture of our,
The fire
fire
truck,
article.
yeah, the fire truck was debt service in FY 25, so we don't care about that.
the audit is now in the budget.
Yeah, it's not on the budget.
And leave the old bills, cause we will have old
Yep,
bills.
yeah. Police cruiser that's from last year, turnout gear that there, and these were some of the things that I know that are in there.
Yeah, that are under consideration.
Yeah.
Free cash, so you can put in the new certification and everything.
Yeah.
Not right now, but
Push
but
that.
I just wanted to get the ball rolling in it.
Yeah, I'll put the free cash certification.
Alright,
He's been waiting years, so.
sorry, Ken.
And who?
You wanna come up here, Ken?
The next two, maybe.
So the next two, CDBG funds,
Wanna come up with it?
4,000.
It was 4,300 for the, software, right?
Yeah.
That what it was, 4,300?
And then there's the administrative cost. 2,000.
So hopefully, Roger, you have to make the accountant set up an account for this.
We get it in cash.
Small bills, big bills.
And this is the first really money that we'll spend from CDBG. We have some earmarked for the community center, but this is the first one we'll spend. This will be simple. I'll move that we use $4,300 of the CDBG unrestricted funds for short-term rental software.
I second the motion.
Questions?
Wait, is it software? Isn't it consulting or something?
Software services.
Okay, software services.
Software services, consulting services.
Okay,
If there's no other discussion, we'll call a vote.
yes.
Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so that money, that's unanimous vote for that money. That account can be set up immediately,
Yeah, I'll get in touch with you.
and then we can pay the company.
Great, thank you, thank you.
So we're getting a start
You're
on.
gonna need the money we're gonna bring in with that.
Yeah.
I was witness a frightening session.
Town meeting warrant. This is the first time we're talking about the town meeting warrant, but one of the items that is proposed to be on it is the seasonal communities designation. So if I'm not mistaken, Kat, and maybe you can expand on this, the first vote we'll have at this meeting is just to accept the designation. And then down the road,
That is it,
we'll make some zoning changes.
all the zoning, everything else happens down the road again with town meeting input. This is just, all this is accepting the designation, and that opens the spigot for money coming into the town.
Okay, I just need to say a couple things.
Yeah.
Right, so-
Go for it, Sue.
Okay, so the first one is, yes, theoretically, that's true. However, reading through the seasonal communities document, 760 CMR, 76 seasonal communities, there are some things that aren't actually optional.
Well, just point them out.
Right, so under 76.04 zoning requirements, 1B, a seasonal community shall
Yes.
amend its zoning to allow attainable housing units. So, and I don't necessarily have a problem with attainable housing units, but I just wanna say that saying we can accept the seasonal communities and then not amend our zoning isn't the case. To keep that designation, we must.
Yes, no,
Okay,
no.
in addition, it's by right. So a lot of this document we produce, we're like, hey, we can put all kinds of limitations, we can put special permits, we cannot. By right means no special permits. That is the definition as by right.
By right means that the bylaw that's developed is what we're talking about, not talking about special permits, we're talking about bylaws. And the bylaw is what the overseeing law will be. So that whatever we put into the bylaw is what will be.
Okay, but that's great. I agree with you. However, as someone who's been sitting on the zoning board of appeals for like 10 years now, right? If the bylaw has to allow things by right, it will not come, it does not involve a special permit, it does not come to the zoning board. So if something is by right, if you wanna put up a shed or change your house and you're doing it by right, you go to the building inspector, you file for a permit. He goes and looks at your plans and your site and says, yes, this is by right, you may proceed, right? It does not involve a special permit. I'm not saying that's good or bad, I'm saying your document is misleading because it implies that we could prevent X, Y, or Z from happening by special permit. But if the things that people are concerned about are actually required to be by right, that
So
isn't the case.
the question is, what are people concerned about? Because by
Well,
right,
you know,
by right, there's no changes, and there's absolutely no changes in the current building law, the building, the septic, I mean, any of the others, all stay the same.
there are differences in the minimum lot size, the setback, which can have a maximum of 15 feet.
There's no difference in the minimum lot size. The difference is in the lots that are below the standard right now, the 2 acre standard, any lots below that. And it's a quarter, it's a half an acre, so they have to be a minimum of a half an acre. And that cuts it down from, the 80 to about 30 lots in all.
I actually read this very differently than you do. If you, as I
Let's look at
understand it, if you had a 10 acre lot, you are no longer subject to, if you have a lot bigger than the minimum, right? We now say you can only have one residence on it. As I understand this, you could now divide that lot
No, absolutely not.
into what?
Check with council on that, because that's one of the clearest things in there. You cannot change, it's only for those lots that are undersized they're talking about. They're not talking about standard lots, anything 2 acres or above. They're not talking about any of that.
No, I don't agree with you. They're talking about allowing houses to be built on, you're allowing smaller lots to be made.
No, you're not.
That's how I read it.
No, you're not. You're just not. I mean, we've gone over with other councils in other towns, and it's very clear. They're not allowing you to develop small, tiny house subdivisions or whatever.
So you're saying that when it says on undersized lots, it only applies to a lot that's pre-existing?
Pre-existing below the 2 acres.
Pre-existing undersized lots. Not that they're talking about dividing up a property into smaller lots
No,
that would
not
then
at
be
all.
undersized.
Not at all. It's illegal. Can't do it. Cannot do that.
Okay. That, I'm glad I got that clarified, although I would like to definitely hear that
Check
from
with
council
council.
as well. The tiny houses doesn't worry me particularly. The one other issue that I did have is, and maybe, what you're implying is there's not gonna be a lot of places where this applies, but that said,
So the reason I say that, and you have to understand, part of my reasoning in all this of trying to put these papers together and try to explain the situation is the whole goal of this is to try to increase the housing situation.
of course,
But I think it's really important that we speak to those issues that people have and make sure that there's clear understanding. I mean, what happened at the special town meeting where we had our gentleman stand up and talk about, I mean, that's.
affordable housing, and we even discussed it, et cetera.
So, I mean, it's, what we've been trying to do is just get accurate information out there so that people understand.
So you're saying it's pre-existing undersized lots, which was not what I understood it to be
And
saying.
I mean, talk to council and they'll clarify that, but it's clear, it's very clear.
But we can make sure that there's a foundation and appropriate
Absolutely,
utilities.
we have to, yeah, that will be part.
Even if it's by right,
Yeah.
it's just a condition of
And
the.
that, I don't have a problem with that part, and I'm not really concerned, as long as they're not wheeled tiny homes, that they'd have to have a foundation. That part concerns me less. What did concern me was
Oh, yeah.
the whole section that
Well, I think-
talks about
Sure,
are having to, track the attainable housing and report things to the state, and I'm like, so here's the scenario I'm imagining, so somebody comes in and says, well, I'm going to take this lot and build 4 attainable houses on it, because I can now do that,
you can't
and,
do that.
I can do it by right, so I'll just go to the building inspector but let's assume he, you know, if he's a good person and he's really doing that and he's truly keeping it attainable, but then, oh no, the cost of everything goes up and he has to sell it for more to make his profit, and how do we actually track what it actually sells for or who he sells it to? Attainable housing.
The attainable housing. So if they enter in, and so
Who's responsible
so
for doing
the
that?
clearest that we've heard is that a deed restriction would probably be required. So you restrict the deed, and the deed clearly states that in terms of going forward with sales or whatever else, it maintains a sustainable price.
So how does the process we have in both Monterey and the state, even if that's in the
Totally
deed
different.
restriction?
We don't have anything that covers that right now.
Right,
So we would be writing a bylaw that would cover that.
okay, but even if we write the bylaw
Yeah.
that covers it, and even if it's on the deed restriction,
Yeah.
what person in town would be responsible for making sure that the person who bought it qualified for that, right?
Yeah. So-
And that the price that it went for was actually within the limitation that was supposed to be.
Okay, so
And let's say they didn't,
there's clear.
what process is in place to, there's no teeth that I
So
see,
so in all real estate transactions, there's a clear paper trail,
right?
from start to finish.
Okay,
Part of that is how you get into that paper trail, but the deed restrictions would allow you in the process, and so you would know what was going on. But further, the statute allows monies to be used for administrative help. Because I had a conversation with Roger today, and he was desperate, saying, I can't handle all this. So I said, well, we can probably find somebody to help. So that there's monies available, there will be monies available through the seasonal communities to help with that. But what are you talking about? In reality, I mean, if we have 4 or 5 houses over the course of the next 5 to 10 years, that we can maybe get to a point where either there's a deed restriction or they're affordable. I mean, I think we're doing well. I mean, we're not talking about a lot of stuff here.
I guess I'm just sitting here thinking to myself how difficult it was, and, you know, maybe if everybody was, you're right, maybe it won't be a lot, but even one where someone came in and, I'm not gonna call it bait and switch, I'm not sure what to call it, but we had someone that came before the ZBA who was, I'm just refitting that
Yes, but-
shed to be a
Yeah.
house for my little old mother because I don't want her to be too far, which was a complete lie.
Yeah.
She was a developer, it was like the 15th house she's flipped.
Yeah.
And in the end, she lost because there is a process that involves land court,
Mhm.
and her neighbors actually picked up the case and carried it, and she lost. But my concern was if someone weren't behaving well and didn't meet the requirements, that there's no, I don't know what the means of enforcement would be. Would that be land court again?
Maybe, I don't know.
Right, I don't know either.
But
And I
think-
just don't wanna agree to something where the town has to do it, and I don't know what the mechanism of enforcement would be.
Okay,
But let me comment on that, currently when you buy a house in town, you have to sign, we had to sign a paper saying this is a farm community. So you couldn't complain about animals. I would
Right.
think there would be something in the process that they would sign something about what their commitment is. It's a year-round residence and so forth. And so that they would have to be, because if they ever want to resell the property, they would have to tell that to the buyers. So,
The deed restriction makes sense in that regard, but I'm gonna pose a scenario, right? Let's say, and I'm making these numbers up, I own it, because I would have to do the research to find out exactly. AMI for here, for a single person is about, what is it, 101? Yeah, 101 or 102, but it's 250% of AMI, so you're already talking about someone whose income is on the order of $250,000 a year, which is a pretty high bar, okay, to start with for this area. But
Wish I had
that
that
said,
problem.
let's say the person who's building the house builds a house and sells it for 1.5 million. which would be above what that person could afford, unless they had some, amazing down payment. In which case, the reality is the person buying that house actually probably has more income than that, in which case they don't meet the requirements, but how would this process that we have in place pick that up? I don't think they could. Someone would have to notice what the sale price was and flag it.
Well, where'd the house come from?
Someone built it.
I mean, did they
No,
build
I
it
think,
from seasonal community? I mean,
Does it matter if they
Well,
built it
well,
without?
that's, someplace the paper trail has to come in.
If
and if we're
someone
not-
is saying it's an attainable house and they're a builder that's building it as an attainable house,
Yes,
but then they
But
lie,
they're not getting anything, that's what I'm saying to you, well, this is all based on the premise that we'll have money to be able to put towards a variety of different situations to help with attainable houses.
right?
What you're saying sounds like a private, somebody
That's
building a house.
exactly what it sounds like
But
to me.
that's not, we're not looking at that, that's not attainable houses.
Okay,
I wouldn't be attainable house, I mean, $1.5 million house is not an attainable house for what we're
that's my
looking at.
point,
Yeah,
is that someone could say they were going to do that, but not do it.
so again, I think I go back to the paper trail, that there's a clear paper trail starting from the building process, starting from when the first permits are pulled, right to the end, to the bank signing off on
But
it.
who's reading the paper trail and checking to make sure that the numbers meet the requirements? Is the bank doing that?
No, we have a town administrator.
Are we asking the
Oh,
bill,
I'm
like,
sorry. No, I don't know, it could be the building department, it could be.
I don't know, the building department gives them a permit, they build the
But
building,
we're gonna have,
and then no one is watching what the sale price is.
you're talking about a
Am I
situation,
completely out of left
you're
field?
talking about a situation.
No,
that they-
I see where Ken's coming from, that everything's recorded, and I also see where Susan's coming from, that the law isn't always followed, and if there's no one there set, in place, in stone,
But the reality.
with a budget to
Yeah,
fund
the
that person.
reality is.
And also, I'm a little bit leery of money from the state.
So few, we're talking about so few situations. I mean, we're looking, the Fox Hill Road project is going to be much more interesting than this is going to be in terms of what we get out of it.
Well, it's a big unknown,
Yeah.
too. We don't know how many people, maybe no one uses it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm
Or
not
maybe
really
there's
expecting a
2
ton of
dozen
time.
of them in
Well,
10
it's like,
years, I don't know.
I was talking to somebody the other day and I said, well, let's compare this to the ADU, the success of the ADU program in the Berkshires. I mean, that was just wonderful success.
I don't think that the tiny
No.
homes is gonna make any difference in any community that doesn't have town water and sewer.
So I look at it, so for me,
I mean, honestly.
yes.
Well, yeah,
you're
and what's the
right.
septic and a well, you're in it for 50,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So,
And who wants this $750,000, 450 square foot house?
So the reality, so there's monies that will be available for, and you're right, who knows what's gonna happen next year with the state? I mean, look at the budget, look at your budget. I
well,
mean,
CPA, they do a bait and switch.
Yeah.
They say, we'll match it,
Yeah.
and then every year the match get less, right?
Yeah.
Forget about it.
I think the reality is here is that this is an opportunity. I guess it's just, for me anyways, I just look at this as an opportunity for Monterey to try to do their share in terms of what the housing situation is in Southern Berkshires. And the fact that it's critical. And we don't have, you look at, can't find firemen, we can't find, policemen, the whole thing. It's all about that. And this will allow us, if we come up with some houses that would allow us to actually identify houses for fire or teachers or whatever, which you can't do
If we're
now.
building.
Yeah. What?
If we're building them?
Both.
I'm just
both,
curious,
yeah.
because, yeah, you,
I mean, some of the communities on the Cape are actually purchasing houses. They plan to purchase houses, so, already built, so.
by the way, how would the seasonal communities tool retain workforce housing without building new units?
What do you mean?
I don't know, what do you mean? Retain workforce housing without
Oh, in
building new
terms
units.
of, that refers back to deed restrictions. That there are people, and we've already been approached by folks.
Oh,
in
people
terms
who are
of-
willing
yeah,
to
who are
donate
willing
their
to
homes
donate
with, I
stuff,
get you, okay.
So someone puts their home in the will to be donated as attainable housing.
Yeah, and with a deed restriction, that's.
Who manages? How does that work?
With, I guess, the trust would have.
Trust would,
But the attainable housing.
Would sell the house, and then
Yeah,
it's just sold, and there's a deed, what does the deed restriction look like?
well, it's in the deed, so
What is-
it's a restricted, it says in the deed
Can't,
that
like,
there would
usually
be.
You can't resell it for
Resell it
X
for X
amount
amount or whatever, some percentage of what, you can't go up more than a certain amount
per year.
Yeah.
Although I.
Well, what happens when the market fluctuates greatly, right?
I don't know.
And someone who already isn't loaded with cash, right? And then they wanna move,
They're stuck,
that stinks.
yeah, well, shh, don't say it.
No, that's terrible, that's terrible.
There's no way.
It could be a very well-intentioned effort to help somebody out, and it could really screw them.
So
Well,
they've been
yeah.
doing this for
If it,
years.
remember
But
COVID,
they're-
2020,
Yeah.
house prices through the roof? Someone who had one of those de-restricted houses,
But you're doing it in order, think back of when you first did it, and you did it in order so that someone could be in that house at a reasonable price. And so that person, as it goes up, is still staying in that house at a reasonable price.
but you don't know the circumstances under which they may want to sell, or their kids may want to sell. And their kids may be paying off their bad debt.
So-
You limit the equity they can accumulate over time. That's true. However, it still does increase, and it keeps that house affordable even in the new market. And there's plenty of evidence that over time that's worked, because other places have been doing this since like the 70s.
But what about
Right, there's
inflation?
some
So
invariant.
wait, well,
Does it track with
So-
inflation too?
The answer is, don't throw out the good in search of the perfect. I mean, you can come up with a situation for almost anything that's gonna raise questions about whether it can work or not.
Mhm.
The reality is that, you're going on what's been happening in the past, and it's been successfully done in other communities, in other states.
A lot of it's city planning,
Yeah,
right?
a lot.
Like when they wanna redo a whole neighborhood,
Yeah,
they sell it affordably.
Yeah.
You
And
can't,
Can't really.
Can't do things for things.
Yeah.
but,
There's a bunch of lots in Barrington that the land trust developed with this kind of model that I think they did like in the 80s maybe. And there's still people living there.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still there,
And they're not gonna make any money on it.
but I'm not sure that that's true. If they bought them in the 80s, they're gonna make quite a bit. I mean, even if it only went up 2% a year, compounded since the 80s, are you kidding me?
is it tied to inflation at all, or is it just?
It usually
I'm not
is,
sure.
it usually is, it usually is.
Because I think one thing is from the 80s until 2026. Not all the time, but things have been consistent, and you always feel like it's not gonna be consistent, but we really don't know.
But it's,
You don't know, and
You
past
really don't
performance is
know,
no guarantee of future
and-
performance, right? Not with any economic market.
but it's the same with the question Susan asked, about who's gonna check in the bank or something like that. A lot of this is, we're gonna be dealing with fairly responsible people who want the best, and that's kind of where it's at. We
With
do
the
best we can.
trust, I have more faith in it, that really bad experience
Yeah.
on the zoning board
Yeah,
gives me some pause.
well, it doesn't, I mean, it's the same thing that's going through with Airbnbs. We have people in town that own 5 houses, and they're setting them up so they look like they only own 1 each, and they're only paying for those 1 each rather than paying the additional 3% and stuff, so. It's that, the honesty thing kind of rears thin sometimes. But I think, so I guess what all the housing committee is asking is that you go ahead, you move forward with the seasonal community, and then all of this stuff will work out over the next couple of years. And all of the stuff, when I say that, I know Nikki's going, oh no. But all I'm saying is that as working it out means that everything we do still has to go before a town meeting.
Will we hire somebody to draft these zoning bylaws, because I feel like it might be money well spent.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's what the towns that have already gotten their money on Cape Cod, the majority of the towns have already set aside money for administrative costs. So that would come out of there.
Also,
I'm a firm believer in outside.
I don't wanna draft
No, I
zoning
know,
bylaws.
Right, no, I don't wanna do it either, neither is the planning board, which is arguably their job. Can you say a word about the expanded residential tax exemption problem they're having out on the Cape?
Yeah, I have read some stuff about the issues that they're having with that, because the seasonal communities gives you the ability to raise the,
Gives you the ability.
gives you the ability
It
to
doesn't
raise,
tell you you
yes,
have.
Right.
you have to vote on it.
To raise what?
To raise the exemption for up to 50%.
If you live in the town, you get.
Was that in Eastham in the New York Times?
I don't know if it was in the New York Times,
Because
but
I saw
I read it in other places about the
Eastham.
residential exemption. I think I read about it in Provincetown, where, multi-million-dollar residents, because they have I believe they have a 50%, exemption, residential exemption. And so people that,
35%.
so
And
they,
they're allowing, yeah, by accepting this, and what they did was they raised it to 50%.
yes, they raised it to 50%. So they're a seasonal community, they raised their residential exemption to 50%. And so what happened is they have multi-million-dollar homes that are full-time residents, and they have seasonal residents who've been there for generations, who are not exempt. So they have like a $10 million home, the valuation, now it's only paying, it's 50% exempt. Those dollars still have to be picked up by the residents that don't get the exemption. So I think it's probably not gonna, it wouldn't happen a lot here, but those are the weird things that happen.
Oh, it would, no, it
It would
totally
happen.
would happen.
You know how,
I
you
can
know how
think
it
of off the
happens.
top of my head.
It
places
would,
it would happen.
like,
But
I
can you
think,
make further, I don't know if you could further complicate it and say,
Income restrictions.
could you make
well, I
restrictions on that?
I don't know if you can if you're just going straight
So
seasonal.
my brother lives in the Cape, and I was talking to him about all this stuff going on in the Cape. And he said that the real issue on this particular one is greed. Is that, yeah, you can go up to 50%, but there's a line. There's a line that you have to kind of figure out how far you can go and still make it work. And it's the same with the STRs. I mean, there are some people that are using the STRs properly. They rent them out for, a month, a year, and you want to overtax them? No, you want to go after people who aren't. It's the same with that. The town went too far. It just got greedy.
Well, but the thing is that anyone that had, like, any second homeowner who's like, I can get 50% off on my taxes, I'll just declare that as my primary residence.
Yeah.
I mean, no one's coming by to check how many days you spend. in
We'll get a lot
town.
more voters.
Yeah, a lot more voters.
Maybe more
And so
select
they
board
can run for
candidates.
board.
The average age might be that.
Okay. I don't know.
We have a
But we don't have,
couple, we have a
that
bunch,
is optional.
we have time to figure out whether or not we're gonna put on the warrant.
Yeah.
My default is housing committee supports it. I'm mixed on it, but we'll put it on the warrant and put it up to town meeting.
And the planning board's talking about it
Yeah.
this week, and you
On
guys are.
Thursday, they have a meeting with, so it would be helpful for me, now that I heard what you said, Justin, is if you could just put in writing what your concern is,
Uh-huh.
so that we can respond to it. And you too.
Yeah.
You too.
Frank, Frank, do you have anything?
I think you summed it up right. I think it's worth putting on the town warrant for May. I think that citizens really need to educate themselves and vote on it.
Is that on the website?
But from the housing committee point of view, it would be really helpful if we could, I'm just saying, it would be really helpful if we could answer your concerns, or we could figure out a way to answer your concerns, and if we can't, then we can't.
So my concerns are mostly things that probably don't have a technical answer.
Okay.
Like the state promises money, and then that money gets less and less. Because we don't have a 50-year commitment.
Okay, but we're not entering into any money agreement right now. I'm saying, I'm looking at.
No, but one of the pros of accepting is there's money
Is there
available.
money available, yeah.
How much?
Well, to begin with, there's each town that accepts it gets someplace between 50 and 175
And I
$175,000
just,
for the planning purposes.
yeah. And I share Susan's concern about if we don't have enforcement in place before accepting it, and I know we're not accepting the zoning bylaws, but this is a commitment to make zoning bylaw changes,
Mhm.
and without enforcement
What's the point?
in place,
What's your enforcement now with,
Don Tirico.
And the zoning
And the-
board,
and the
and the
ZBA.
legal, and land court.
okay. So there you go, you're all set.
Well, I might.
And maybe it does work, maybe it does work, but
I mean, I don't know what else I mean.
But, you know, someone pulls a building permit, and there's inspectors, and they go out and they check, and if there's something that's, needs to go to the zoning board of appeals, it goes to zoning board of appeals, and if that process works, you know, there's no inspections during a sale, or not, those kinds of inspections.
And there is a,
That's
is
the
a-
part that concerns me, is that, like, the attainable part, like, I just unclear, like, they put the plans in, and I suppose that if Don had a way of calculating what the total cost of the building,
they're told,
Right,
he's told
right,
that.
pardon?
They tell him that.
Right, they tell him that, but he would have to know what attainable was in that moment, to know, right? Cause let's say an attainable house, the value of the house, in order to be affordable for the person with the 250% of AMI, right, was, I'm just picking a number, $1 million.
So I would,
And he knows they're gonna build
I
a
would-
$1.6 million house.
there would definitely be forms that would be filled out in duplicate to clarify all of those questions. I know that, because I mean, that's what they're doing elsewhere. There's a whole procedure you go through in order to
So
reach
someone who
attainable,
wants to
including,
build at an
including
attainable
sharing your
house.
tax
Okay.
returns and stuff. So I mean, it's not.
For the candidate who wants to purchase it, or for the builder who wants to build it?
So, I don't know, if the build, it would be either one. But the builder that's building it would then be required to have a deed restriction on it in the building plot, before he goes, so that would have to be shown to planning board and everything else, that's I'm just,
You're assuming.
I'm assuming.
I
Yeah. No, but I mean, I guess it goes back again to the whole paper trail, I mean, there
Yeah.
are processes we have now, if someone wants to build, and it's the same thing. There wouldn't
I'm
be-
just not sure that
it's an
those
added
processes are, currently include that kind of thing. I'm not sure that they do.
So then I would go back to the ADU situation. I mean, how many of the tiny houses do you think are gonna be in Monterey? I mean, everybody said that about ADUs, oh my God, I remember, there was this woman, Mickey, who stood up at town meeting and said, no, we're not doing any ADUs, it's gonna ruin everything.
How many ADUs have we done?
None.
There's two, I think there's two in Berkshire County,
Yeah,
there's one in
Berkshire County.
town. There's like 3 in Berkshire County. I think
Yeah,
there's one in Monterey.
there's a couple hundred in the Boston area and nothing out
What
here.
about the one in the Ryder House?
The one?
There's, I think
In the
they're
Ryder's house, about the corner of.
the newest ones, they're the new ADU. I know
Isn't
there
Oh,
was
is that
at
an
least one.
ADU?
Yeah.
Isn't there one on?
Yeah, and the
That's
actual.
a nice-
I don't know if they're technically ADUs, but from my
The garage,
understanding, in Monterey,
No,
we've
that's the
only
house
had
has to go out there.
one,
The ADU used to
one
be a
person
garage.
apply for an
Oh, I
ADU.
didn't-
So he may be having some old building in the backyard,
Looks good.
acting that way, I don't know.
No, but I was just thinking there was like a new garage on the corner of Tyrion and, Goodbye.
Oh.
Very
no,
nice.
no,
I
no.
thought there was an apartment above
No,
it.
that's
I don't think that's an
short-term
ADU.
It's an Airbnb.
So technically it's an ADU.
I do, we don't have any.
Yes, because it's accessory dwelling unit means an additional residence on the property.
Exactly, you're cutting,
Right,
you're
so
cutting
it is an
in,
ADU.
you're cutting the zoning
Not in the
restrictions down
sense
to
of an
half.
ADU, that they're supposed to be using ADUs as an ADU. An ADU
That,
is,
but they built it before that. That was only when they passed the change,
well, to my,
right? That
to
it
my
had to be
point,
residential, but it was
since,
prior to,
since
they
the
built it
change-
prior.
since the changes have happened, there's only been like 3.
So this is a good one though, because they had to, in order to do that, go through the planning board and the zoning in order to get it, to allow them to build it there. And it's not an ADU.
All right, thanks, Ken.
Hey, listen, it's always fun.
Never don't know it.
May,
We'll have to raise some money and build them a house in Monterey to keep them here.
It was basically, it was an ADU, but under
You
the
got one more
way
year,
they
right?
had
You're
before
staying
we
one more
changed
year?
it.
I'm hoping,
Right, that's how
I'd love to
it's built under that.
I finish on my term, which is next May, but it might be cut a little bit short.
Right.
So,
But
probably not
it
more
is
than
an
a couple
ADU.
months.
It's just, what were they calling it?
If you
Accessory-
know anybody, or you dig deep in yourself and you wanna be on the select board, there's open seats.
Accessible and.
After tonight, no.
Accessory dwelling units.
Mickey's gonna step forward.
It's an age group. What do we call it?
I think by
Put
default,
together, how many we put together?
if you show up to more than 50% of select board meetings and then we're short a member, you're automatically on that.
You better watch it, baby.
Hi, Ken.
A different size roll.
Ciao.
Alternative.
Susan, well, thank you,
Ciao.
thank you.
Thank
Really
you.
do appreciate the housing part too, the STP, that's gonna be fun. The housing committee is so much fun,
They are.
and it really struck me tonight, listening to what you guys are going through versus what we're doing. And it's like, it's so nice, I mean, it's me.
Less stress.
It's invigorated me, I'll tell you. So it's not the Rogerism up there.
Oh, I love your visits, Ken, they're great.
Take care. Vicky, have a good night.
Well, we have your contract, right?
Well, it's on my contract, it's just I have to inform you of my desire to continue or discontinue my contract.
Yeah.
So I have, I put a letter to the select board saying that I am interested in continuing my employment here and extending my contract. But I don't know how you wanna do it, I had put in something about extending it to end at the fiscal year to make it sometimes just a little easier for budgeting purposes. But it doesn't have to be. My contract effectively ends March 15th. I know there's a limitation. Oddly, the governor has on, I forget what they call it, it's like a punch list of things, actually has an item on there for town administrators being able to be contracted for upwards of 5 years, but unfortunately,
But right now
it
it's
hasn't
3,
happened. It's 3.
limit of 3 without town meeting, so.
Yeah.
Well, can you send us your current contract?
I will.
The signed version and maybe the Word version if you can.
Because that's easier to modify. If we need to, like,
Yeah.
dates.
Yeah,
For
and I,
example.
you know what, I probably have it too, but
Yeah, I have it. I'll send it.
Um, June, a short one till June and then a 3-year. Is June the right time?
So I was doing that purely for budgeting purposes.
Yes, no, it makes sense in that way.
In that sense, just to kind of push it up to that, but because I'm, you know, like I've said, I've truly enjoyed my time here.
Mhm.
And 3 years is about my limit of what I want to be in this position. So.
Okay, I'll be gone by then. Thank God. I don't
So-
have to be part of
You're not leaving
that.
too. You're not leaving.
So,
Well, I only.
You're not allowed to.
But I only have 2 more years. I have plans for the
that's kind of where I am with that. I mean, if you'll have me for 3 more years, I'm happy to spend the next 3 years doing that.
I mean, I think it's impressive, we both did 2 terms.
Yeah.
I think that's very impressive.
Yeah, you, only 1 for you.
I know. Yeah, you get
So-
old.
A mini contract from March to June and then a 3-year from June, 3 years out.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
If, you know, I don't know how you would have to vote on that, if you would vote on that now, because.
No, yeah, we would do it, in my mind, we would do it now for March to June, and then in June, we would do a big one. But I don't know, I don't want a contract ending in March. March is terrible.
Yeah, it's a tough time.
But I don't know if we should
The
tack on an
simple
extension.
part of that would be if we do it so that it ends June 31st, then we'd have the opportunity to have the salary would be aligned with the
It
cycle.
would, but that is something that we can figure out with some fancy wording, whereas
Right.
if we talk about operationally, when is a good time to transition town administrators? September would have been my thought,
It's probably a good time to do it,
as opposed to June, because there's the end of fiscal year,
or March,
not
not March.
Not
town
March,
meeting.
yeah, Overwatch, yeah, so you're suggesting we go.
Well, I don't know.
March to September,
I mean,
and then go September for 3?
Well,
Is that what you were suggesting?
I don't know specifically if I would work up till 3 more years into September.
So 3.5 would be good, but 3.25 is okay.
Yeah, like I'm like, you know, my own position on retirement is that I hit a certain age in February.
Mhm.
And so that certain age, you know, I'm okay working and helping, you know, possibly
couple months.
transition, you know, in through that. That's why I was like, I'm okay, like, say, through June or something like that, helping on some kind of transition, or maybe into July, depending upon what was happening and how the budgets work and all that, but I don't want to work till September.
Well, I think the hope down the road is that there would be a hiring process and someone training
That's what I,
long before.
at some point here in the next year or so, I think there's some value in talking about that. Is there a possibility of making or transitioning a position currently to something more than just like an administrative assistant? Someone who's in the position, doing a lot of those kind of administrative
An
assistant.
assistant town administrator.
Exactly.
So that they would be
So they
succession plan.
Yeah, succession plan, so they know the processes, and hopefully you've hired somebody that you will, work out in that.
Yeah, we
sense.
would post for and hire an assistant town administrator to eventually take the position
Yes,
with a definite timeline, because I've seen this.
yeah,
And that's why I asked Don, I've seen this where there's not a definite timeline,
and it just.
and then the person doesn't wanna let.
Yeah.
Actually, I think we have, I don't need to go too far into it, but, if you actually do have a definite timeline, in February of 2029 is basically the end of.
It's somewhere, I'm okay, like I said,
But something's happening
I
in
don't
February.
want to have happen.
He turns his her name.
Yeah.
Perfect, that's what's happening.
Exactly.
So,
I'll put it this way, I don't want to put somebody in the same position that I was in.
Yeah.
I know it was different circumstances that happened, but I think that it's better for the community and being a member of this community, that if there's some sort of transition plan and something that happens so that it's a much smoother ride and it's a much smoother transition, because it's daunting what can happen.
so,
That's my.
No, I agree,
All-
you're not gonna get us to disagree.
all that said, is everyone okay with a mini contract from March to June?
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Okay, I'll send you guys the contract and I'll look up to find the Word document,
I might,
so somewhere around there.
Who's FS?
I can't read it
I
right now.
can't read it.
if you send me the signed one too, I can just verify that the one I have in Word is.
Okay.
empty, and then, it's so recent.
Yeah.
Okay. Town administrator update.
So the only, I have updates that have to do with personnel. A highway staff member gave their notice, they're leaving on Friday.
Wow, that was quick.
Yeah, it was like just a 1 week, like a 1 week plus a day notice.
Who's that?
Ryan Zaney.
He's leaving?
Yep, I think the snow was a little too much for him. I think,
So is it close enough to when we hired that we could turn to the people that we interviewed for that position? Cause what was it, 3 months ago?
I think
yeah.
they've already, the other two people, one went to work for New Marlboro, and the other
Well,
Cole
one
is
worked
gonna
for
be
New
the
Marlboro.
police academy.
The other one's Cole. I don't know if Cole's still.
Cole,
wanting
is
to-
he doing the police academy?
When does this start?
I don't,
I'm gonna see him tomorrow night.
Cole is the one that does the IT teaching over at the,
I don't know, I don't, I'd have to really follow up on Cole. I can follow up on that and get back to you.
yeah. I
But,
think Cole is the one that was gonna become a police officer.
Yeah,
The academy's starting in March.
yes, starts next week.
Yeah, and then
But
the
I'll
other
follow
one
up.
went to New Marlboro's.
Yeah. So he, so I did post it on the.
Did we do anything wrong when we
No.
hired him?
I think he just didn't realize.
I
how
don't think he
intense
realized how, if it was like the winters we've had over the past few
it was.
years,
It was intense.
I think we might be okay. But,
And we were gonna send him to get a CDL, but we didn't even start that.
no. I think it just was intense for somebody who's not used to that. And I think that he just wants to, have his weekends. And we've literally been, I think except for maybe two
All of them were
weekends.
weekends, right? Like,
Since
it's
the beginning of
crazy.
December, I think it's been 2 weekends or maybe 3 that they haven't worked. And I think it's just, Don Peck has experience with it, obviously Pete does, and Alan and Sheldon, so they understand what it's like, but when you get sort of, I think maybe if he had started earlier,
If you
and
had
had
been
a
there in the
chance.
summer and had a sense of the
had
job.
a chance, it might have, but so, I put it out, I put it on, the town website, I just sort of redid the one in Indeed, I'm gonna put it in the shopper's guide for maybe a week or 2 weeks. But we did have somebody that stopped in a couple weeks ago, because they worked in that Sheffield Plastics company that's shutting down. And he, I wish he'd come this week, but he had his CDLB and his hoisting licenses, but, from my understanding, he got a job. He was just going around town to town to town. and
Okay,
asking,
where did he get a job?
Up in Beckett.
Beckett?
Yeah.
Damn.
Where did he go?
Beckett, he went up to Beckett. That's my understanding, is he got a job in Beckett. So I think we're gonna try and reach out to him to
I
see
was
if he
just
knows
gonna say,
anybody
reach out
else.
to him, see if he actually
So,
took the
I
job.
talked to Alan
Maybe it was
about
just a
that.
rumor.
So, we're also, at this point, hiring to replace Melanie, putting, and I did the same thing, I put it in the, on the town's website, opened up, redid the one in Indeed, and I'll put it in the shopper's guide for a full-time police officer.
I believe that the fire guys, I don't know if you were there when they said this, but you know the app that they used to advertise? Apparently it's now fire, but it was originally police.
Oh, no,
And I think they still have that. And I don't know if it's worth, like, looking at that, but it might give us a different pool of candidates.
Yeah, definitely check that out. That's it for me. Nikki?
I was just gonna say that, I happened to run out into Alan in the parking lot out here a week or so ago. And, I said something about it being a nice week, and he said he hopes his guys get a week. It was just the way he spoke about his men. And he said that on so many school days, they have started at 4 o'clock in the morning so that they could get,
Buses.
the roads out in the outer end so that the school bus could get on the roads. And I know that Sunday night, I saw the plow go down my road, so he got up and got down at midnight. I looked at the clock and I go, oh, he was actually gonna be back to the highway garage by midnight. It was, a couple minutes up.
Yeah.
I go, so sometimes they're working at 4 and sometimes they're working at midnight, so they've been putting in some rough hours, but I really was impressed at the way that Alan spoke for his crew. Saying how difficult it has been because they've had to be out so early and stuff, and yeah, he hoped they had a quiet weekend. It was gonna be a quiet weekend.
Oops. I hope this
wanted to-
weekend's quiet, yeah. Yeah.
There's a little snow tomorrow.
I was just gonna say, I'd heard there was more snow coming.
Okay. Any unanticipated business?
Only thing I bring up is that proposal I'm getting that I'll send out. So that's the
I
only
look
thing
forward
I
to
have.
seeing
Minutes?
it. Right, which one, are we starting with 127 or
Did we get minutes?
Did we do 127?
No.
No, we did 113.
113, okay, cause I had gotten to them, but.
I had one that came back, did I have one that came back from you, Justin?
No.
I think I had sent the 127 ones last week, and the other one, believe it or not, I had no changes on the 210. So, I think, I did have one thing on the 210. There was, a place there was a space missing. But I didn't even I wasn't sending you that, cause that was just ridiculous.
So we're two.
On the 210 down, where is it?
It's 210.
Yeah, an update on intermunicipal agreement with Sandusville Ray Police Chief. You didn't put a space between the colon and the P. That was it, that was the only thing I had.
Where was it?
Page 3, update on intermunicipal agreement with Sandusville.
Oh, yeah.
That's gotta be a first, I think. I only had one space, that was it.
On January 27th minutes,
Yep.
the motion of appointing the 2 officers.
Should we appoint 2 officers?
It is on
Yep,
page 3.
Police chief.
I just don't think it should say chief Grant Frank in the motion of appointment, because you're not gonna be our chief.
I get what you're saying, yeah.
Right.
Where was that? That's,
And also, it should say officer, not office runner.
Which I don't even think we need to say that. We can just say their names.
So just say
Right.
Grant Frank.
Graham, Frank, and Ryan.
No, well, not, up there, it's fine.
Okay, but it should say officer if you're gonna have a title.
So remove it here.
Remove it under the motion.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it just gets confused. He's the chief in New Marlboro, but here he's not the chief, and I just don't want any confusion.
Just call him.
And officer, it says office
Yeah.
before the INC, and it does that 2 paragraphs above as well.
It's so funny, I was forget the hour.
And above? Right there, Roger.
Oh,
First
well,
paragraph and third paragraph.
And then I believe those are 1-year appointments, so you could say effective for a term of 1 year.
On the
Appointments.
motion,
As
Yeah.
part-time officers effective for 1 year.
and I've been struggling to actually do the Curtis, I'm just reading down through here, the Curtis Road Bridge. It's been canceled twice, we were gonna do it yesterday. So,
The appointment,
On Lover's Lane.
To have to talk about.
talk about it, and then, yeah, yesterday.
So it's supposed to happen yesterday afternoon.
So I was supposed to have my meeting about figuring out what to do about recyclables yesterday, and when I got back in from dealing with all the snow, I fired up my computer, it's like, where is everybody? Nobody, apparently, only the person who was like putting out the Zoom thing was there, none of the other people went, and she's like, where is everybody? And I'm like, shoveling? And she didn't, they only got, I guess, like 2 inches, and we got like, what, 14 or something?
Over.
So I'll get the 217 out from this one.
All move that we approve the minutes of January 27th as amended.
Second.
We'll
Second
call a vote.
motion. Yes,
Yes, it's unanimous vote. The minutes are approved.
I did send you this last week, right, with those changes, the red. Like, of one town,
I think so.
did they get included in what you're looking at
Which one
now?
was that? Which date was that?
Sorry, this is 127. I didn't mention it because I had sent it, so I assumed it, but then it.
Where was it at?
So the first one is on the first page, Collins Center update. It said, I deleted the words to present. Update on regional emergency medical services EMS study.
Services.
Right.
Volunteer numbers continue to decline, making long-term sustainability.
Right, but in the title, it said to present. Update on,
Let me see.
I just deleted to present. If it's not in there, you already did it.
Oh, no, it's in there, I didn't see that.
Okay. And then under 2, you put of more towns.
I didn't see that. I don't think I got that from you.
Did I not send it?
Go double check and see.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
No, it's all good. It gets confusing when,
So we have to make a change to January 27th
Right.
on the title for the section Collins Center to present update on
Yeah.
regional emergency medical
Just Collins
services.
Center update.
So she's removing, she has to remove to
To
present.
present from that title. It just says Collins Center update on.
And
then under number 2, just below that, it would say would expand to include ALS and BLS coverage of more towns. Wasn't like huge thing. And then down on the next page, on the first line, the board reached consensus to use a 2% social security. I added the words COLA as a provisional planning, just because 2% COLA, 28% COLA sounds like we just chose that number, whereas I wanted to stipulate that it was actually from social security. And I think that was it. Those are the ones he just made. I think that's it. Sorry, I thought I had sent them and
You may have, I may have just.
Hey Frank, that work for you?
Yes,
All right, and me too, so we're all good. February 10th, I'll accept as drafted. Susan, you said the same?
yep,
All right, I'll move that we accept the February 10th minutes as drafted.
second the motion.
We'll call a vote.
yes.
Yes,
Yes,
unanimously approved.
Ooh, we're rocking along.
Any, we don't have 217 or?
No, I haven't gotten that one yet. I just worked on it today, so.
Okay.
Anything else?
I don't have
All
anything
right,
else.
see you next week at 5:30.
I'll be back next week.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second,
We'll call a vote.
yes.
Yes, meeting adjourned at 8 PM.